In a world where a single drone strike or a closed strait can send global markets into a tailspin, the map of international commerce is being violently redrawn. From the high-stakes waters of the Red Sea to the strategic bottleneck of the Strait of Hormuz, West Asia is currently the epicenter of a logistical revolution born out of necessity and conflict. As traditional shipping lanes become combat zones, the race is on to secure new corridors that will define the global economy for the next decade. This is the story of how geopolitical tension is forcing the world to find new ways to move, trade, and survive.
To understand the current crisis, we have to look at the map. The Suez Canal is one of the most critical maritime shortcuts on Earth. It handles roughly 12% of global trade and nearly 30% of all container traffic. But to get to the Suez from the east, ships must pass through the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, a narrow passage off the coast of Yemen. In recent times, this passage has become a graveyard for the old way of doing business. The rise of non-state actors using low-cost, high-tech drone technology and anti-ship missiles has turned this transit point into a high-risk combat zone. When major shipping giants like Maersk, Mediterranean Shipping Company, and Hapag-Lloyd decided to pause their transits through the Red Sea, the global economy felt the shock immediately. The impact of this disruption is twofold: time and money. When ships cannot use the Suez Canal, they are forced to take the long way around. This means navigating around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. This detour adds approximately 6,000 kilometers to the journey and between 10 to 14 days of extra travel time. Think about what that means for a modern supply chain. Fuel costs skyrocket. Crew wages increase. Most importantly, the efficiency of the world shipping fleet drops because vessels are stuck at sea longer, leading to a shortage of empty containers at ports. This is a primary driver of the inflationary pressures we see in retail today. Every extra day at sea adds to the carbon footprint and the final price tag of the goods on your shelf.
While the Red Sea captures the headlines for container goods, the Strait of Hormuz remains the most dangerous potential flashpoint for the global energy market. This narrow strip of water between Oman and Iran is the only sea passage from the Persian Gulf to the open ocean. 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption passes through this strait every single day. We are talking about over 20 million barrels of oil. If the Red Sea crisis is a headache for consumer goods, a full-scale disruption in the Strait of Hormuz would be a heart attack for the global economy. Geopolitical tensions involving Iran and its neighbors have led to a climate of uncertainty. The threat of seizures, mine-laying, or targeted strikes keeps insurance premiums at record highs. For oil-importing nations in Asia, such as India, China, and Japan, this is a matter of national security. The risk of a total blockade remains the ultimate black swan event. If Hormuz closes, even for a week, global oil prices could easily breach the $150 per barrel mark, triggering a global recession.
In response to these vulnerabilities, we are seeing a desperate rush to build disruption-proof infrastructure. One of the most significant developments in recent years is the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. Announced as a landmark partnership, IMEC aims to connect India to the Gulf through maritime routes, and then link the Gulf to Europe via rail through Jordan and Israel. This is not just a trade route, it is a massive geopolitical statement. It seeks to create a reliable, faster alternative to the Suez Canal while integrating the economies of West Asia more closely with the West and South Asia. However, the volatility in the region has slowed the momentum of IMEC. Conflict makes long-term infrastructure investment risky. While the dream of a modern Silk Road through the Middle East remains, the reality on the ground is that rail lines and ports are only as good as the stability of the countries they pass through. Meanwhile, Russia and Iran are pushing their own alternative, the International North-South Transport Corridor. This route seeks to connect the Indian Ocean to the Caspian Sea and then into northern Europe via Russian territory. This highlights a growing trend in transit trade. The world is bifurcating into competing trade blocs, each trying to secure its own logistics regardless of what happens in the Red Sea.
How do companies survive this chaos? The answer lies in technology. We are seeing a massive surge in the use of AI-driven predictive intelligence in the logistics sector. Shipping companies are no longer just moving boxes, they are managing data. Real-time tracking, AI-powered route optimization, and digital twins of the global supply chain allow companies to pivot their cargo the moment a drone strike or a port closure is reported. We are also seeing the rise of smart warehousing at regional hubs like Jebel Ali in Dubai and the port of Salalah in Oman. By digitizing customs and transit trade agreements, these hubs are trying to reduce the time cargo spends sitting in ports, which helps offset the delays caused by longer sea voyages. The term transit trade has become a buzzword for economic survival, as landlocked countries in Central Asia and the Caucasus look for new ways to reach the sea that bypass traditional conflict zones.
It is also important to look at the local impact. Egypt, for instance, relies heavily on Suez Canal transit fees for its national budget. The diversion of ships around Africa has cost the Egyptian economy billions of dollars in lost revenue, complicating its domestic economic recovery. Similarly, the ports of the Eastern Mediterranean, which were positioned to be the gateways to Europe for Middle Eastern energy and goods, have seen their operations hampered by the proximity to conflict. This creates a cycle of economic instability that only fuels further geopolitical tension. When trade stops flowing, local economies suffer, and when economies suffer, social unrest often follows.
As we look toward the rest of 2026 and beyond, the message is clear. The era of cheap, easy, and safe maritime trade is facing its greatest challenge since the end of the Second World War. West Asia is the epicenter of this shift. The global trade map is becoming more fragmented and more expensive. We are moving from a world of just-in-time delivery to just-in-case logistics. Countries are diversifying their routes, investing in rail, and turning to technology to mitigate the risks of a volatile region. What does this mean for you? Expect higher prices for imported goods to be a long-term reality rather than a temporary spike. Watch for the growth of new trade hubs in places like India, Vietnam, and Mexico as companies move production closer to home to avoid these dangerous choke points. The geography of the world isn't changing, but the way we move through it is. West Asia will remain the heart of global trade, but it is a heart that is currently beating with a lot of stress. Thank you for watching this deep dive into the geopolitics of trade. If you found this analysis helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more insights into the forces shaping our world. Let us know in the comments, do you think the Suez Canal will ever return to its former glory, or is the future of trade strictly over land? Until next time, keep an eye on the horizon.